Hello and welcome. Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan or ang INC, the country's first and only organization of illustrators for children, launches a fresh collection of artworks sharing personal experiences of members, playfully called Inkies, in answer to the prompt, "What is your INC story?" INC Story, 30 years of ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan opens today in the Wilson L.C. Prints and Drawings Gallery, second floor of the Soledad B. Pangilinan Arts Wing, Arete at the Ateneo de Manila University, Katipunan Avenue, Loyola Heights, Quezon City. The Ateneo Art Gallery or AAG proudly partners with ang INC in bringing this anniversary celebration to life in full color. We're happy to announce that the exhibit can also be visually accessed via ateneoartgallery.com. And I am Ara Villena and I will be your host for today. Now, to usher in this great occasion, we go now to the message of Ateneo Art Gallery's Director and Chief Curator, Boots Herrera.
Good day to everyone. I'm Boots Herrera, Director and Chief Curator of the Ateneo Art Gallery. We are pleased to partner with ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan for the celebration of their 30th anniversary. The creative and collective works of Ang Inc., its individual members, and as an organization, has contributed to the development of Philippine education and culture. Moreover, they helped expand and sustain the local publishing industry, particularly the sector of children's books, alongside writers and publishing partners such as Adarna House, Bookmark, Tahanan Books, Cacho Publishing, Lampara Books, Anvil, and most recently, Canvas. Together, they supported advocacies such as children's rights, respect for indigenous and traditional culture, values education, and the care for the environment. By gifting Filipino children with artfully illustrated books, Ang Inc. helped nurture, and continue to do so, a generation of compassionate Filipinos. Among them are current and future leaders. Ateneo Art Gallery congratulates the past and current members of Ang Inc., and we wish you all continued growth and success. We hope to open our doors soon to receive guests, but for the meantime, Ang Inc.'s story may be viewed online via social media platforms of Ang Inc. and Ateneo Art Gallery. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boots Herrera. And now, a message from the current president of Ang Inc., Nina Martinez.
It is with great joy and pride in my fellow members that I welcome you to Ink Story, 30 Years of Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan. In spite of difficulties in the past 2 years, especially in meeting in person, I still feel the warmth, passion, and joy in this exhibit of my fellow members and of their love for the children's book industry. I hope whether you are a friend of the organization or a visitor and newcomer that you get to see in this exhibit the colorful history of the children's book industry, as well as leave with a hint of hope for what it can still achieve for you as a reader or as a kid at heart. Welcome and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nina, for that wonderful message. Now, once upon a time is a famous opener for fairy tales. But here we have real people who have been an essential part of our historical 30-year journey. And so we curiously asked, what's your Ink story? Our Inky friends and founders, of course, they happily answered this question. The full video can be viewed in our exhibit and on our social media very soon. For now, let's see a sneak peek of the many friends of Ang Ink who stopped by to wish us well.
Good day to everyone.
Congratulations, Inc! 30 years! Woohoo!
Anniversary ang ilustrador ng kabataan.
Ligayang Bati Inc.
Happy 30th anniversary, Inc.
Happy 30th to all of us.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you for those greetings, everyone. Now, Ang Ink was formed by a group of friends during an illustrators workshop organized by Goethe Institute in 1991. That workshop was facilitated by renowned German illustrator Reinhard Mickel. As a surprise, here is a message to Ang Ink on our special day.
Hi, this is Reinhard in Munich. I was delighted to hear from you after all these years. What a surprise. But I feel honored that you remember our 2 weeks together during that workshop in Manila, as I have the best memories of it too. I'm glad to hear that Ink still exists and is doing well in all those years. and that you can celebrate now your 30th anniversary. I want to send you my best wishes for the future. Good luck to all of you, and keep inking for the next 30 years.
Wow, grabe. Amazing that we were able to get a message from Reinhard Nickel. Thank you so much for that. And now, of course, ang ilustrador ng kabataan began 30 years ago from today, no, 1991, as a fledgling group of 21 members. With no precedent, the Inc. founders knew very little about running a professional organization. Everything ang Inc. as an organization knows today, ang Inc. learned from its collective experience through the years. Ang Inc. has evolved into an enterprising organization that continuously finds venues and creates opportunities for its members to educate themselves, polish their craft, collaborate with organizations, show and publish their work. Proactively, ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan has consistently taken a hard stance on issues that affect not only its members, but Filipino illustrators in general, demanding professionalism of the industry players, protecting artists' rights, improving their treatment and pay. Ang Inc.'s history is not without its share of ups and downs. Countless times through the years, ang Inc.'s definition as an organization has constantly evolved. And as an Inky who has served as a term as an officer knows, it is very challenging to lead a group of artists with various artistic temperaments through the organization's various annual activities. Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan Pen Award is an award given to an exemplary Inky who personifies ang Inc.'s ideals and has made outstanding contribution to both the organization as well as in the field of illustration for children. A Pen awardee, therefore, is both an outstanding Inky and an extraordinary professional illustrator. It is a very special award which has taken us 30 years to create. On its pearl year, ang Inc. will be giving out 2 Pen awards to 2 incredible Inkies. May I now turn you over to one of ang Inc.'s founding members, Ms. Beth Parocha, to give out the first award.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Before reading this citation, I would like to say congratulations to all the Inkies who had made this Inc. 30th year possible. For me personally, I think you're all deserving of the first Pen Awards as well. Again, maraming salamat. On behalf of ang Inc., it is my great honor and pleasure to acknowledge the incredible contribution of one incredible Inky for generously sharing his talent and techniques, whether face-to-face, on television, or online, through social media, for inspiring people, both young and old, to bravely explore their artistic side and just have fun, for always being an ardent advocate of the healing power of art. With equal amounts of joy and passion, he has shown people the critical link between art making and wellness. Given this 23rd day of October 2021, in appreciation of his outstanding contribution to ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan, as well as the children's book industry, this Pen Award is proudly presented to Robert Alejandro.
Yay!
Congrats, friend.
Yay!
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 Congratulations, Sir Robert.
Thank you. I'm humbled.
Nakamute po kayo, sir.
Thank you very much, Beth. Thank you very much, Inc. I am incredibly humbled. I'm so honored to be alongside everybody, all of you guys. As sabi nga ni Beth, you all deserve this award. You who are so generous, so giving, industrious, and so talented. I am so deeply humbled to be among you. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Thank you po. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Rob.
Iyang-iya ako.
Aga nakakaiyak na. Thank you, Sir Robert. Well-deserved ang Pen Pen Award. Now, congratulations po ulit. Now, the second Pen Pen Award will be presented by another Ang Inc. founding member, Professor Totet De Jesus.
Hello. On behalf of Ang Inc., it is your Lolo Totet's great honor and pleasure to acknowledge the incredible contribution of one very dedicated and selfless individual who has countless times been asked to serve beyond their term as an Inc. president, for helping define and refine Ang Inc.'s role in the industry, for leading the group to accomplish its many milestones, for inspiring and nurturing young Inky recruits into fine, creative professionals. All these while building her portfolio of work that establishes herself as one of the most creative and professional collaborators in making children's books truly a joy to work with. For unmatched leadership that has steered Ang Inc. out of its darkest days to its brightest triumphs. In appreciation of her outstanding contribution to Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan and the children's book industry, this Pen Pen Award is gratefully presented to Liza Flores.
Yay!
Liza!
Yes, Liza!
Yes! Hello! Maraming salamat sa lahat. Tinaiyak na ako ni Robert nung birthday ko. So, umiyak na naman ako dahil kay Robert ngayon. Naniniwala ako sa role ng Inc. Kaya talagang special ito para sa akin kasi share natin lahat ito. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much, Ms. Liza. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Sobrang thank you, Liza.
Ha?
Sobrang thank you sa lahat.
Thank you din. Masayang mahirap ang trabaho sa Inc.
Yes. Ayan. Congratulations to our Pen Pen awardees and to our presenters, no? And now, after all the tears, we go to the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time, no? It's time that we open this, no? It is with great honor that on behalf of this great organization, I declare Inc. Story, 30 Years of Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan, open. Celebrating with me are several of our members here today. So, buksan na natin ang mga cameras natin. Inkies, magpakita tayo ng mga mukha. Buksan na. Yes, show the faces behind the illustrations of our best children's books in the country. Charat. Hi, Inkies. Ayan, no? So, meet the Inkies. Welcome. Now, every story has a setting, and the setting that our partner, the Ateneo Art Gallery or AEG, has chosen for our Ink story is the Wilson L.C. Prints and Drawings Gallery, which is dedicated to drawings in pencil, charcoal, pen and ink, and watercolor. A quiet, intimate space has been gloriously transformed with carefully chosen colors, freshly curated artwork, quirky characters, and irreplaceable displays of memorabilia. A 30-year timeline runs through around the walls of the gallery, a testament to Ink's place in the history of Philippine contemporary art for children's literature. In this time of pandemic, we invite the world in to witness the opening of a new chapter in our Ink story, celebrating 30 years of Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan and 30 more years, no? Hopefully. So we would like to play our exhibit video tour so that our audiences can see what Inkies has prepared for its 30th anniversary. Yan.
Yay!
Yay! Ang ganda!
Ganda! Ang ganda!
At
Nakakabitin.
Oo nga eh. Nakakamiss din. Nakakamiss pumunta sa exhibit ng Ink in person. Ayan. So actually, sneak peek pa lang yon. Abangan na lang natin no, yung full virtual tour niya sa susunod na mga araw. And yun, so we will now move forward to the next part of our program. Ayan, sige. So, ito yung Facing Forward, Visions for the Philippine Children's Book Industry. Can you believe that in 1990, only 11 picture books were published by the only 3 children's book publishers that existed that time? Ang Ink was founded the following year, and since then, many more artists were attracted to venture into children's book illustration. A lot of other new things have emerged as well. New illustration techniques and software, new printing technology, new stories, and also new audiences. And these could only have been realized because we dreamed and put pen to paper. Now we invite you to conquer a new page with us and draw a bigger picture for the local children's book scene. This is Facing Forward, Visions for the Philippine Children's Book Industry, a discussion and Q&A with our 3 distinguished panelists who will each speak on their hopes for and contributions to the field. Our first speaker is the Vice President for Product Development of Adarna House, the first and largest children's publishing house in the Philippines. She is also the school director and co-founder of the Raya School, a progressive school that has branches in Green Meadows, Fairview, and Naga City. Annie has a doctorate in curriculum studies and currently lectures on children's literature at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Please welcome everyone, Annie Almario.
Hello.
Hi, Miss Annie.
Hi.
Yan. Sige po.
Hello.
Hi, Miss Annie.
Happy 30th anniversary to the most harmonious professional organization I know. I've said this quite a number of times, especially to authors. Gayahin niyo yung mga ilustrador, hindi sila nag-aaway. So let me start with congratulating Ang Inc. for not only doing excellent work, but doing it while staying collegial, professional, and collaborative. I was asked to share what I want to see in the future of the children's book industry. But as the oldest in this panel, hindi ko alam kung paano nangyari na ako yung oldest kasi wala kayata si Totet. I think what will help us look ahead is looking back. And I'd like to share some of the books from Adarna's history that I consider to be trailblazers. Here's a groundbreaking book, not just for its unique illustration style, and the fact that all spreads were done in dark, tense red, but because it's the first Filipino children's book to address broken families. I remember when we came out with Papa's House, Mama's House, written by Jeanette Patindol and illustrated by Mark Salvatus in 2004, we were so apprehensive about its acceptance. And look at us 17 years after, when it's not taboo anymore to talk about broken families, and that's not even one of the biggest issues facing children today. Augie Rivera and Beth Parocha's Silef came out at a time when I thought of experimenting with Adarna's form and format. Kailangan ba na 7x9 lahat ng libro namin? So we sought to make a book that was not only bigger, but had foil stamping on the cover and glow-in-the-dark ink in one spread. Truly fancy stuff. But aside from the production specs, what was groundbreaking was that this was the first book to tackle the learning disability of dyslexia. We worked with WordLab, a school for dyslexic kids, and they even suggested a font that was easier to read if you had dyslexia. 25th anniversary ng EDSA People Power nung nilabas namin ang 3 librong ito. 1201 ni Russell Molina at Kajo Baldissimo, Isang Harding Papel ni Augie Rivera at Romel Hoson, at EDSA ni Russell Molina at Serge Bumatay. For the disappointment of our trolls, we are actually not big Aquino fans, but we are big democracy fans in Adarna. And I think it's groundbreaking when we can talk about our path to democracy, the grim truths about martial law, hindi yung truth according to Facebook, and actually help children understand the essence of it all. Here are 3 books that we published recently. Mona Ballerina by Weng Cahiles and Pat Portugal, Boy Kendeng by Doms Agsaway, and Ang Gusto ni Chabibi by Liwa Malabed and my co-panelist today, Pat Ramos. I love that we came out with these books because they speak of a child's agency. A child can choose to do what she wants to do, say no to what adults are asking her to do. She can wear whatever she wants, and he can move however he wants to. Sometimes we forget to recognize children's freedom, not only to be children, but to be distinct individuals. Let me now wear my PBBY hat. Here's a spread from Harry Monzon's Pagkatapos ng Unos, one of the 2 winners of the PBBY Wordless Book Prize in its first year. It's not just unique because of Harry's brilliant art or the absence of text, but because it talks about hope and resilience amidst climate change. It is groundbreaking in the way it delivers such a powerful message without the aid of words. So what's my point? With all the books I've talked about, Adarna pa lang yung diniscuss ko, imagine if I included all the groundbreaking books from the whole industry. We've certainly come a long way, but what I hope to see in our future is a plethora of books about the plethora of truths, experiences, and realities of Filipino children. That when someone asks me if there's a book on transgender kids, I should be able to name a couple. If someone asked me if there's a good book on citizenship, I should be able to give several titles across several publishers and sana nga across several Philippine languages. Because there cannot be just one book to explain the many sides of an issue and just one opinion of a social phenomenon. And God forbid that there be only a handful of books about climate change or press freedom or protecting our democracy when these are the things that spell out our future as a nation. Let's have more books reflecting the diversity of Filipino children and the unique human experience that is childhood. There should be books that celebrate not just the wonderfulness of childhood, but also the things that children should be wary about. Let's talk about the things that will make children happy, but let's also talk about the things that might make them cry. There should be books that mirror their real and typical experiences, and others that will speak of experiences so far from theirs. And when we talk to them, let's not underestimate children's capacity to understand difficult things because they have their own way of processing the world around them. To end, I want to share something I've learned about people's readiness for certain things. For those of you who plan to come out with stuff that may be too novel, too bold for some camps, too different a view from that held by the majority, here's a story about wordless books. Wordless is not exactly a popular format in our country, though celebrated in other countries. Berde, Gusto Ko ng Berde, a wordless book of ours, came out in 1981 and it wasn't popular at all. We came out with Excel Dikianco and Marcus Nada's wordless book, I Don't Like to Eat, twice, in 2004 and 2015. And the second version sold better. And then in 2019, PBBY instituted a prize for wordless books and published Pagkatapos ng Unos in 2021. And guess what? It just won a White Raven. That's a period of 40 years between the first and the last books I mentioned. But I still can't say that we've managed to make wordless books as acceptable and as normal as we hope they would be. But I think we're getting there. Sometimes things take time. Sometimes they take 40 years. When we believe in an idea, we should never tire of trying to put it out there. Always believe in possibilities. Besides, if we didn't, we wouldn't be in children's books. Again, happy anniversary, Inkies. Maraming salamat at mabuhay ang mga ilustrador na Filipino.
Thank you, Annie.
Yes. Maraming salamat, Miss Annie, for that wonderful talk. Ngayon, para sa ating audiences nanonood sa ating live and even yung mga Inkies na nandito sa loob ng Zoom, feel free to ask questions sa ating speakers and we will address them later at the Q&A portion. So, i-chat lamang po o kaya i-comment sa baba sa comment section ng Facebook Live natin. And now for our second speaker. Our second speaker is an Assistant Professor of Communication, Research and Children's Literature from UP Los Baños and PhD Communication Candidate in UP Diliman. He has received recognition from Don Carlos Palanca Memorial Awards for Literature in 2013 and 2017, and the Philippine Borden Books for Young People Salanga Prize Honorable Mention in 2015 for his stories for children. He has published storybooks with the Darna House, Lampara Books, Anvil Publishing, Chikiting Books, and Save the Children Philippines. Please welcome Mr. Chino Marlo Sayuno.
Ayan. Thank you po. Kinabahan ako bigla kasi nahiya po ako sa inyong lahat. And of course, I've always respected illustrators, so I'm very honored to be chosen to represent the many writers in the Philippine children's literature scene. So with that, I would like to share some of my personal insights then on about writing the future of children's literature. So siguro galing din ito sa mga ibang diniscuss ni Miss Annie kanina. No? So I would like to share with you some current state and future directions in the aspect of writing and how it also interacts with illustration and book production. But of course, parang as we have all witnessed, the Philippine children's literature scene is vibrant. It's very vibrant, and I really admire how many creators are courageous in facing many issues and writing them into the children's content form. So we have in our stories that we have written and illustrated and published, we have tackled timely, significant, and empowering issues about children and their immediate communities. Yan. So ito, kagaya ng mga napakita na rin kanina ni Miss Annie, we are facing the political climate and introducing them to children in many ways. Where pwede siyang informative text, pwedeng creative na narrative at marami pang iba. Nakasituate sa past, merong martial law, merong current, yung si Kian, of course, and even the historical ones, yung sa Japanese time, di ba, and so on. So, palagi nating pinapakilala sa mga bata na hindi ka na lang umiiral individually, but you're affected by the political landscape of the country. Kasabay din nun, we held the hands of the children in understanding our current pandemic experiences. So marami pong mga publications na nag-release ng stories about the pandemic. Yan, kagaya nung mga nandito sa Lampara and from Tahanan Books. Also in the UPLB College of Human Ecology, nag-release naman sila ng stories then created by child experts in their college. Pero on online form ito, no? So marami namang nag-e-effort to contribute in retelling the pandemic in the eyes of the child. And then of course, ito rin, we continue to validate children's identities by making them understand that what you're going through is something valid. And it's already the norm nowadays. At kailangan tayo palagi magsimula doon sa pagtulong sa mga bata na kilalanin, tanggapin, at lalo pang pagyamanin ang sarili para naman mula dito ay tatalon sila sa pagtulong naman sa mga nasa paligid nila. No? Naging matapang din ang children's literature scene sa Philippines in terms of addressing current experiences. So ito yung mga mas technological, for example, yung angle, kagaya nitong stories on cybersecurity and cybersex and taking advantage of the child through technology. So tinuturuan natin at tinutulungan natin at ginagabayan natin ang mga bata na maintindihan pang lalo ang teknolohiya kasi even if they're the ones who are more well-versed than us adults in terms of understanding technology, kailangan pa rin nila ng gabay, no? And yun, tinutulungan natin sila. Ito yung ayoko po sana about the idea of consent. So, mas ine-empower natin yung mga bata sa mga issues na relevant to them, no? Yan. At kasama nito, we're also strengthening children's voices in the regions. Nakakatuwa, as a cultural dancer and a fan and lover of Philippine culture, I'm very happy to share na marami na ring mga projects from the regions. For example, itong collection of storybooks, children's materials from the Corditex of UP Baguio. Tapos of course, ang Aklat Alamid, andito yata sila. They're also continuously producing stories from the regions. At yun din, ang ABC Educational Development Center. At marami pang iba, definitely meron pa akong mga hindi nabanggit. Nakakatuwa kasi hindi na lamang sa sentro nang gagaling ang production. Kaugnay nito, ano kayong mga possible future directions in storybook writing, no? Yan. Una, kailangan pareho, meron pa rin tayong continuous effort to understand the child. Dahil nga digital natives yung mga bata, kailangan medyo ipihit natin yung understanding natin of the child and tell stories that would appeal to their sensibilities. We have to understand that children are instrumental in affecting significant change in the society. Na ito naman, palagi na nating in-embody, pero patuloy pa rin nating yayakapin at paninindigan. And children as having equally relevant ways of seeing the world. And sometimes even more novel and significant. Yan. Yun, we also want to make storybooks more accessible to children. Example ko dito, yung, of course, many of our Inkies are part of the project, of the Room to Read project of developing storybooks. We have developed 20 storybooks across 4 publishers, and we these were distributed into various far-flung areas so that we can promote the culture of reading. Because palagi kasing may critics sa children's lit na, baka you're servicing the middle class or the upper class in writing stories, pero we want to tell stories about children in difficult situation and make these stories accessible to them. Kasi para sa kanila ito, kaya natin sinusulat at binubuo. Pagkatapos, we also want to continually promote developing storybooks with rigor. Yon, kagaya ng sabi kanina ni Miss Annie, parang magko-consult sa experts, di ba? I-share ko tuloy yung naging recent project namin with Save the Children Philippines. Nag-construct kami with Yori, with Harry, with Nina, and Oliver ng 4 na storybooks on oral health. Tapos hindi siya basta binubuo lang dahil marami siyang kahit na medyo pandemic, mahirap makipag-interact sa mga bata. May mga ways to gather relevant data. So ang ginawa ko, nagpa-activity ako sa mga kids kung paano yung behavior nila in oral health. Meron akong dahil hindi kaya mag-interviews kasi parang yung mga teachers and health workers natin, parang syempre medyo mahirap silang hinga ng panahon dahil syempre busy rin sila sa pag-print ng modules, ganyan. So mga mga written interviews, tapos meron ding archival work para malaman natin ano ba yung state ng oral health in this project. So yan, nakadevelop ng iba't ibang paraan ng pagkikwento para dun sa mga beneficiaries. At pagkatapos, kasama din dun sa storybook development process yung evaluation na kailangan nating iangkla sa DepEd, for example, kung paano ba ito sinusukat at yung di ba yung Adarna nagki-kid test naman, so di ba kailangan natin tong mga to para ma-test talaga natin if nararapat at appropriate sa mga bata ang mga kwento. Tapos meron din sana tayong mas mayabong pa na mga proyekto on translation. So hindi lamang ito pag-translate ng mga stories natin palabas kagaya ng mga nandito. Sayo ng Dalawang Kamay, Ang Batang Puppet, mga lihim. May mga lihim kami ni Ingkong na translate sa iba't ibang mga wika. Pero kasabay din nun, papaloob naman, ano yung mga kwento sa international scene na maaari nating magamit para ma-empower ang mga Filipino children. At kasabay din nun, yung pag-translate naman into regional languages, di ba? Para mas accessible ang mga kwento sa iba't ibang mga bata. And also, we want to promote sustainability through storybooks. At sa UNESCO, merong 4 na dimensions yung sustainability: natural, political, social, and economic. Pero gusto kong dagdagan ng physiological kasi nga yung pandemic, may pandemic literature ngayon na kailangang tumingin dun sa health and well-being ng mga bata. At yung last na gusto ko idagdag, yung technological, no? Kasi syempre, umiiral sa technological space yung mga bata. Kaya kailangan sustainable din yung development nila as members of various online and physical community. So palagi natin gagamitin yung storybooks to promote sustainable development. And also, we want to explore themes, forms, genres, and platforms. Ilang mga halimbawa ng mga recent na mga proyekto, yung My Family na palagi kong sinasama kasi sobrang favorite ko, na in-explore yung form niya kasi di ba parang naka-cut siya, so nag-iiba-iba yung combination. Yung recent project na pinublish ng Alaala ng mga ng KWF, Alaala ng mga Pakpak, ito naman ay una na dito yung pagkilala dun sa mga antolohiya bilang pagkukunan din ng mga kwento at yung muling pagsasabuhay ng mga kwentong bayan, at kasi parang cycle na siya ulit, so kailangan nating ipaalala mga kwentong bayan at bumuo rin ng mga bagong mga kwento. Tapos yung Room to Read books ay naging audio drama na isinabuhay naman ng Tanghalang Pilipino. Ang Lihim ni Lea ay naging award-winning film. At tapos recently, ang PNU ay merong Normal Awards for Gender Inclusive Literature. So itong mga theme-based na competitions ay magandang opportunity din para makapag-invite ng new publications. Tapos ang gagawin ng PNU ay gagawin nilang mga actual storybooks, yung mga nakuha nila mula sa competition. So hindi na lamang ito contest for the sake of winning, pero dadating sa bata kasi after all, gusto tayo para sa mga bata. So sana makarating para sa kanila yun. At yung kailangan din natin talagang isipin yung platforms kasi nga parang ngayon may open access of data online. So yung mga storytelling videos, mga kagaya nung ginawa ng INC na virtual exhibit through Ateneo, di ba? So itong mga gatong efforts, magandang way din to allow our stories to reach children, lalo na ngayong very remote ang ating mga modality. Tapos we also hope for a widened access to storybook development. So marami tayo ngayong mga, from the perspective of writers and also illustrators, sa DepEd dahil meron silang storybook competition, ang dami dong mga talento na nabibigyan ng opportunity ng ilang publications, pero at the same time sila nag-e-effort sila through various organizations to produce storybooks that they can also use in the classroom. So magandang i-welcome din natin sila sa community ng writers and illustrators kasi ang yayaman din ng kanilang mga productions. And lastly, as we face futures, we continually face the fears head-on. No? At marami pa rin tayong mga issues na kailangang harapin. Una na dyan, publication concerns and disparities. Sana mawala na yung hindi pantay na pagtingin sa mga writers at illustrators. I know ito yung reality na parang meron pa rin mga publications na hindi pantay ang pagtingin. Yung hindi sabay ang pagbibigay ng dues sa writer at sa illustrator. Ultimo yung number of complementary copies magkaiba na sana nabubura na yung gantong hindi pantay na pagtingin. Kasi kailangan nating kilalanin na ang bawat storybook ay collaboration ng writer at illustrator, even ng publishers, ng editors, even ng mga consultants. Ito ay collaborative work para sa mga bata. So sana matanggal na yung mga ganitong issue, no? Patuloy ko pa rin ipopromote din ang research-based and child-centric storybook development na palaging kapag tayo magsusulat, meron tayong rigor in research at palagi nating iniisip ang mga bata. Personal na hiling ko rin ang spasyo ng children's literatures, academic and literary scene. Hanggang ngayon ay medyo hindi pa rin pantay ang pagtingin sa children's literature kumpara sa mga ibang klase ng literatura. Sa akademya, mababa ang points kapag children's lit ang output mo. Hindi considered na book ang storybook. Kasi daw, konti lang yung number of pages, unti lang daw yung text, ganyan. So sana mabura itong mga gantong perception kasi napakayaman ng industry na ito at kailangan natin ng suporta ng ibang mga tao sa akademya at sa literary scene. Patuloy na kilalanin ang role ng storybook sa nation building dahil tayong mga manglilikha ng mga kwento para sa bata ang tumutulong upang humubog sa mga bata. Siyempre ang mga bata naman kaya nilang kilalanin ang mundo sa kanilang mga perspective pero tayo ay gabay nila in understanding the world and contributing to the nation building. Kailangan makita ang value of storybooks and pedagogy. Kailangan ay ginagamit yung mga storybooks sa iba't ibang setup sa school, sa pagtuturo, hindi lamang ng mga didactic na impormasyon o kaya ay pagtuturo ng morals, kundi tinuturuan tayo na tinuturuan ng mga bata na maging empowered. And sana, syempre ito last na to, no? Parang nainggit naman ako sa community ng INC na napaka-strong and collegial and productive. Sana yung mga writers din, baka naman po, meron tayo ding effort to create a community. Although meron, pero syempre hindi established para naman may kasabay ang INC sa paikibaka para sa mga bata, dito ba? Ayan. So ultimately, I leave with the message of hope and agency for the children. Storybooks remain to empower children. We have to get to know who the children of today are, trust that they can find meanings to their experiences, and guide them through our stories as needed. So gagabayan lang natin, pero pagtitiwalaan natin sila. Yan. Dahil po dyan, mga idolo kong ilustrador, kasama niyo po kaming mga manunulat sa paglikha para sa mga bata. And binabati ko po kayo ng happy 30 years. Thank you po.
Ayan, maraming salamat. Salamat, Chino. So, sino yung pinaparinggan mo? Charot. Sino yan?
Sorry.
Okay lang. Ayan. Sige, maraming salamat, Chino, na nakakatuwa rin naman yung pagpanig mo sa mga illustrators. We're happy.
Maraming salamat.
Yes, sa perspective mo na yung collaboration ng illustrators and writers. And actually, nakakatuwa, no, yung mga sinabi ng ating mga speakers ngayon na talagang pag-usapin ng pag-unlad ng industriya ng children's books na panitikang pambata, nandun talaga yung pagpapalawak, pagpapalalim ng mga tema, sa distribution, accessibility, no? So, ang ganda na naririnig natin ito mula sa mga industry players dahil mahalagang tunguhin ito at direksyon para sa ating industriya. Ngayon, dahil we were talking about collaboration between writers and illustrators, ang next speaker natin ay ilustrador. So for our next speaker, pero bago yon, paalala lang ulit natin na pagka may mga katanungan, pwede pong ilagay sa chat box. Hindi po yung mga tanong ng mga mapaningil na mga tanong. Sino daw yung mga publisher? Yung mga tanong po para sa ating speakers, lagay lang po sa chat or i-comment po sa ating Facebook Live. Now for our third speaker, she is a part-time teacher, a freelance illustrator, a member of ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan, and tells stories with words and pictures. She is a graduate of the UP College of Fine Arts with a major in visual communication. Please welcome Patricia Ramos, or Patty. Hi, Patty. Patty. Ayan. Hi, Patty.
Hello, sorry. Okay. Nag-ano yung internet ko. So, oo nga, may intention. So, ang tindi ng imposter syndrome ko ngayon because I'm joined by Teacher Annie and Chino. So, I'm welcoming, as the representative of the illustrators here today, I'm welcoming everyone to just tell me in the chat in case I missed anything and if you'd like to share anything that is important to the talk. So, ayan. So, si Teacher Annie and si Chino were able to say so many lovely things, and I hope that ako, I'm able also to show the illustrator side. So, the talk consists of 3 parts. So, ayan, we're going to be looking at the art, the artists, and the audience. Not just for yung mga people na already used to professionally illustrating, pero sana for all of the challenge-seeking illustrators and also the inspiring ones like I was before, and hopefully covering 5 years and featuring both Ang Inc. and non-Ang Inc. members. So let's look at the art. Like what si Chino and si Teacher Annie said, ang dami ko na siguro dito magiging examples that they pointed out. But representation is a huge part, I think, lalo na for us illustrators who are looking at character design and everything. Ang laking influence na naging ng diversity in Hollywood or even on Western cartoons. So ito yung mga ibang examples. So ayan, makikita natin that there are so many people who are also look like us and also look like all the kids dun sa na mga second gen. So obviously tayo din marami na tayong opportunities to know what we look like or to showcase in different styles and in different genres who we are. Natawa kami recently, pinakita na to ni Chino and ni Teacher Annie yung series of kids about agency. Tapos natawa kami kasi sabi namin Age of the Kulot siya kasi daming characters na kulot bigla, including itong kay Miss Liza Flores na sungit na nauna na siya sa lahat. Syempre, may indigenous peoples representation na din, which we're so thankful for. We're able to show, as compared dati, na hindi talaga siya masyadong nakikita, na may mga indigenous people talaga tayo. Oh, okay. So ayun, and then no, or like we were able to present them more accurately rather. Sorry, was I ayan. Baka nag-stop kasi ako. So ayan, what have we been illustrating aside from how our characters look like? Ayan, mga nabanggit na nila Tisha Annie and Chino kanina, which is about gender, body,
Patty? Nawala ka yata, Patty?
Ikaw na muna, Ara.
Okay, so,
Kulot si
Ayan.
si Patty. Kulot.
kulot naman din. Patty?
Oo nga. Ay, sorry. Nag-stop po.
Okay, sige, go. Share na lang ulit.
Oo nga. Ay, oo. Low bandwidth ako. Hold on.
Sige, sige.
Compare ko na yung internet. Nag-stop yung video ko. Sorry. Sabi sa ano. Like, I kept it on. Pero, okay. So, I think we stopped dito sa disability. So, again, I can't not mention si Fran Alvarez was able to go to Bologna Children's Book Fair because of her work ang sayaw ng mga kamay, and also si CJ Reynaldo for his work as a deaf illustrator, not just on children's books pero online, advocate talaga siya. So please check out his page. And we also have about autism. So I also included this graphic novel by Bambi Eloriaga Amago and Roland Amago, which is about their child with autism, and then including yung work ni Saiven Deville sa Kainimina, which is for blind kids. I lumped together climate change, the environment, and technology because this is a future that I don't think we really had to face at this level when we were kids. So, ayan, I wasn't able to find a lot of technology-based as well, pero it's so important for us to try to evolve along with kids with how they work in their language or tsaka yun nga, sa online and digital nativeness nila. Of course, political and historical figures. We as Inc. are also very vocal about about the stands that we choose, including nakita niyo na rito yung anti-terror bill and junk terror bill artwork that we were able to do. And it involves kids dun sa mga usual na dating sinasabi natin, you'll understand when you're older or maintindihan mo pag matanda ka na. So hopefully we're starting to end with that mindset and that mentality na, and be able to involve them more in their community and society. And lastly, lalo na ngayon, it's going to be, magkakamali ako kung hindi ko mention yung pandemic. So for death, illness, and the pandemic, we had a lot of projects, especially the project that si Chino was able to flash earlier, including our own pandemic, which is how our new batch, including myself, were able to interview and gather stories from kids during the pandemic and create our own collaboration towards it. So bali yung kids yung naging writers namin ng mga story. So instead of having the bullet points and the thoughts that I had earlier, or that I should have, it's more of questions for today. So the question for this part are the following. So how do we best represent the things we often see but need to write, talk, and draw about more and to share with more people or a larger audience? How does our illustration style evolve with the development of not just childhood education, but how we treat kids in general? And how can we do justice to the world around us through our art? So that was for the art. Now for the artists, I'm sure that a lot of budding children's book illustrators don't know where to start, and hopefully I get to reach some of them through this talk. A huge question, I guess, that plagued me personally, lalo na sa journey ko of being an illustrator, is what makes a successful illustrator? Does it mean fame and recognition? Like if I get more awards, does it mean that I am a successful artist? Will I have finally reached the top or the peak of being a successful artist? And in the age of credit to the original. So mga memes na nasi-share natin, not necessarily, parang nagbago na siya, hindi ibig sabihin na viral ka online, ibig sabihin may monetary compensation ka. So I think that's something that's so novel to us, and so kailangan pa nating i-separate. Pero it doesn't mean that it's not true anymore or it's exclusive. So fame and recognition can get you exposure and more work, but at the same time, that's what will lead you to monetary compensation. Although, again, not all the time. And also, hopefully, you practice having a good reputation through this. Good reputations eventually lead you to make better negotiations about your work. So it's something that Ang Inc. has been an advocacy of Ang Inc. for so long. So financial compensation has grew. So wala kang nabubuking. Pero it's something that we need to be aware of as well. We have to know what we deserve as illustrators. Like sabi nga ni Chino earlier, it's about being equal to having the same as the writers' rights and compensation for the art that we are recognized for and is so important in childhood development. So hindi ko na yan, pasadahan na lang natin yan. But as we mentioned, negotiating does not just equal financial compensation. I learned that you have to consider so many more things, like, for example, the number of pages, who is the client you are drawing for, are they aligned to your values, ganun pa, are they going, parang naghahanap ka lang ng jowa, basically. So, ayun. So, yun yung mga compensations na probably we're not able to think about when you're first starting out. Usually, pera lang yan, or, oh, it's my first children's book, so I don't really have to fight too hard to get these compensations. Pero ayun, hopefully this is helpful for most new illustrators. And finally, I included an artwork by Arlie Pagaduan. We've been thinking about the impact of burnout, lalo na ngayong pandemic. So mental health has been a huge thing for us and a huge advocacy for us ever since the start of the pandemic and even before. So the question remains that, are more projects always a good thing? Do you have to fill up your plate just to say that you've accomplished something? Yung mga ganon. So kailangan mo bang magpapagod para lang maging successful ka? I don't have an answer for that yet. So there are also so many ways to support artists, and not just the ones that we are used to knowing, pero marami tayong online avenues, like not just likes, pero Patreon, avenues like Patreon and Ko-fi are kind of like Patreon style na so support mo yung artists na para kang isang sinesweldohan mo sila basically for what they do. And there's also PayPal. So for international commissions is a huge thing in the community right now, especially if you are juggling it with another job. And finally, of course, the best way to support your artists, which is not really taken away by the prevalence of online avenues, is buying their work and supporting them talaga and having a hard copy. So there have been a lot, tinatanong ng mga tao, so if you post your work online for free, does that mean that you're not earning for it? No, not necessarily. Some people really like to have the hard copy in their hands, which is a very enlightening and encouraging thing for artists, I think. Ayan. So not just here, even para abroad, tapos magkakaroon ka pa ng problems about delivery. Portfolios and having your work out there has been such a blessed by the social networking, for better or for worse. Ito nga si Kuya Robert is one of the best examples, I think, on Facebook, kasi siya yung pinakapatok even for kids. And it's so difficult for kids to be able to go online nga in the first place. Tapos si Kuya Robert talaga yung makakapaghugot sa kanila directly. Tapos, I don't think everyone here knows how difficult it is to do that, lalo na with parents who don't want you to watch just anything. So Kuya Robert talaga yung sobrang trustworthy dyan. We don't have to pay for a professional website anymore. We can just, like what Kuya Robert does, is go on Facebook. Twitter and Instagram are some of the biggest ways to be able to reach more people, actually. So if you're considering learning the algorithm and where to post art, those are usually the first places you can go. And I'm not sure if Behance is still a popular option. Pero again, you're able to compile all of your artwork in the same place. So, ayun, we already know a lot of the publishers, and I'm sure that I wasn't able to include a lot of them. Pero there have, from 3 publishers, as far as I know from our research, we've grown to so many, and not just the following, pero I had the opportunity to draw for a self-published work under 8 letters, and of course there's PenLab. I can't not mention PenLab as such a big and helpful way to get your work out there. Along with the advent na anyone can write, it's also a huge thing that anyone can draw for a children's book. So sometimes I would forget how it's such a big deal for other people na parang, my dream is to draw a children's book. Well, now you can do it because basically there are some barriers pero not as many as before. So ayun yung mga guide questions ko are what makes an illustrator, which again, I cannot answer. This is something to think about. And when do I consider myself a successful illustrator? Again, I can't not mention other media like comics, graphic novels. There are a lot of very popular comics na abroad that are also, the same popularity is also kind of showing here. Like, I know that we have attempted a lot of children's comics and graphic novels to varying degrees of success. Pero hopefully people don't stop valuing graphic novels and seeing them as new media and opportunities to expose kids to different ways of creating or even reading. So at that, my questions would be, how can we make children's media more accessible? Kuya Robert, baka naman, how do you get them to follow you on social media and such? And how can we engage our audience more with our work? I didn't even include here board games and card games as a way to make the entertainment more empathic, more inclusive, and more interactive. So ang daming new avenues to be able to illustrate and to share your work. This is a very personal piece part for me, which is the Filipino form. And the question talaga is, how are we able to show our Filipino-ness? Is it, showing like mango trees and beaches, mga ganon? Is it actually even really important to show your Filipino-ness? And again, I can't answer that personally. Kasi there are a lot of artists who are not, I'm not comparing the Filipino artists to the non-Filipino artists or anything, pero this is a very personal thing to me kasi I thought I needed to be bound by that idea that I have to represent the country or I have to make myself world-class while at the same time showing myself. Pero it's a very limiting view to me. Parang it's something that you really have to challenge constantly. So that's a very personal thing. And ang ganda kasi ng mga examples, lalo na when you look abroad and you ask yourself, is there an Iranian way of drawing? Is there a Russian way of drawing? What are the aesthetics that they follow? And if you see the examples from Bologna 2021, these are only some of my favorites. Wala, mapapaisip ka, do they get pressured by that same idea of having to show if you are Iranian or Russian, etc.? And sure enough, like napakita ko kanina with si Fran Alvarez, that's a question that you also have to answer or to think about. So, si Fran ba na pressure siya? You can ask her that later. Ayun. So how can we represent ourselves and our culture and experiences in our work? And how do we communicate that which may not be universal, but something that might be able, might strike a chord with other people na hindi nila ma-realize until they think about it. And finally, the audience. As a teacher, syempre hindi ko siya makakalimutan. Pagayabangan ko na yung mga students ko ngayon. But also, ang ink for me, it's my personal journey started with ink as an illustrator. Hindi ko napapangalanan yung mga artists kasi makawaya sila sa age. But when I was a child, ang ink was so instrumental in my journey as an artist because children's books inspired me. Tapos natutuwa lang ako na full circle, I'm here giving a talk on the 30th anniversary. And hopefully that journey is going to be replicated in some way by other kids. The question of what the kids like is such an interesting one to me kasi when we think about the myths of, oh, children's artwork has to be this and that, it has to be colorful and girls like this, boys like this. It's so interesting to see it as an art teacher who gets to notice what kids like. And from my experience right now this year, this is what the kids like. So maybe makikita mo naman talaga na colorful siya, and I didn't even include mga K-pop references dito. But they are things that kids like. And the first thought that I would think about when I see things like this is, ang pangit naman. Oh, no offense to Roblox and everything. Pero it's better to say that I'm constantly challenged by what the kids think are nice looking. Or it's better to say na we cannot just frame ourselves into thinking na, oh, this is not an aesthetic thing. Kids should like this and that. In fact, parang sila pa nga yung nagtuturo sa akin. These are just, I forgot what these were, what project this was. Pero sila mismo yung nagtuturo sa akin na there are some things that surprise you when you see how well they perform, and you can't even guess kunwari, oh, so girl yung nagsulat nito or guy yung nag-drawing nito. And it's so charming and inspiring to know that every kid, the phrase that every kid is an artist is actually a real thing. And you only have to show them a little bit. And like what Chino said earlier, you can guide them, but you can never tell them what to do. Like with agency, it's never a talk about what's good values versus bad values. It's just giving them questions and then guiding them to come up with their own answers for the future. So ayan, like what our philosophy with how kids learn, in what ways can we rethink or develop previously taught conventions on children's media? How can we apply what we learn from other forms of media into children's books? Ayan, so illustration literally comes from the Latin word to enlighten or to shed light on. So hopefully this, my hope lang naman for this talk is that our enlightenment goes both ways. Hindi lang yung tayo yung nagpapakita as illustrators, or hindi lang tayo yung magiging authorities on what, you know, kids should like and see, but also we should listen to them as well and see their capabilities of forming the future of illustration and the future of the world as a whole. Ayun lang. Thank you so much, everyone.
Maraming salamat, Patty. Ang ganda ng talk mo. Very ang teacher. Aming natutunan ng ating audiences. So maraming salamat, Patty. Pwede ba nating ilagay yung mga questions mo dyan sa Q&A portion natin? Charot.
Sige, papasagot natin sa kanila.
Papasagot natin.
Thank you.
Pasagot natin sa audience. Ayan. Sige, so now, tapos na po yung ating talks, no? So, napaka-informative, napaka-ganda ng ating mga narinig o natutunan mula sa ating mga speakers. So, now we will move forward with our Q&A portion, no? So bago siguro tayo pumunta sa mga questions about yung mga kinoment o mga pinasa sa akin na questions, if anyone has questions from Zoom, pwede pong mag-unmute lang or mag-raise ng hand. Tapos pwedeng sabihin lang po yung tanong, baka po meron from Zoom. Guys, may mga nagbabagang tanong po ba sa ating mga speakers, no? Lalo na dami nilang sinig, no? Charot. Ayan. Wala po. Walang questions from Zoom. Okay, so kung wala, let me know if anyone has raised their hand para sakaling sa Zoom merong maghabol ng question. So we can address that one. So ngayon, meron tayong nakuhang question from a message. Meron daw po bang workshops for kids to become illustrators? Perhaps we can ask si Patty muna para sagutin to.
Oh, sorry, can you repeat the question? Sure.
Meron daw po bang workshops for kids to become illustrators?
Oh, I think very seasonal siya, pero again, I think Kuya Robert is also a very regular person to host workshops. I'm sure that if you follow some of the publishers and some of the kids networks, na makakahanap din naman sila. So it's very difficult kasi to just say na, oh, this month may ganito, may workshop na kami. Ayun.
Yes, tama. So, abangan na lang po yung post ng Ink or ng illustrators ng Ink for workshops for illustrators for kids. We can move forward with... Okay, there's a question sa chat. A question for all three. Chino mentioned describing kids as digital natives. Whatever the socioeconomic status, there is some way for them to learn and participate online. What can we in the children's book industry help ensure that this becomes all-inclusive? Hashtag sana all. Perhaps we can begin with Sir Chino, no? Kasi siya rin yung binanggit dito.
Ba yan? Joke lang. Yung usapin ng access and being digital native, parang dalawa siya, no? So on one hand, we acknowledge na children today are really exposed to technology. Pero sa kabilang banda, kailangan nating i-acknowledge na hindi lahat. Kasi even if very technologically driven yung mundo ngayon, may mga bata na wala namang access talaga. No? So kailangan natin kilalanin pareho at kailangan yung iba't ibang mga work natin. Pwede namang may work ka addressing the digital natives, pero may work ka rin acknowledging those who do not have access. Pero siguro yung masasabi ko doon sa paano natin magagawang inclusive yung production, yun nga parang pagkwento ng mga universal na tema na tatama hindi lang doon sa mga digital natives pero yung doon sa mga batang labas dito na at merong mga socio-economic struggles. At pangalawa, yun nga parang kailangan meron tayong effort na ilapit talaga sa kanila yung kwento, i-represent sila at bigyan talaga ng opportunity para makarating talaga sa kanila itong mga ganitong mga kwento. Kung paano po yon si Miss Annie ang makakasagot.
Tinawag na po kayo, Miss Annie. So kayo po yung susunod na sasagot.
Nasagutin mo eh. Pero palagay ko, ngayong pandemic na-realize natin na na kapag access yung pinag-uusapan, di ba kunyari sa DepEd, di ba bumalik sila sa printed material at walang ibang way to learn kundi module. So I think may role talaga lagi ang print. Kaya i-push natin lagi na yung books natin, though there will be digital versions and digital translations of children's books, for example, we will always have to make the print version available. But again, kahit na may digital at may print, tulad ng sinabi ni Chino, hindi ibig sabihin lahat makakatanggap. Diba? Kaya kailangan maka-workout tayo ng ways to improve our access. Iniisip ko nga yung tech, actually nakaka-democratize siya in a way. Kasi when you put materials on Facebook Live, for example, or on YouTube, diba, na parang lahat naman ng tao may FB, may free FB, at lahat naman ng tao ay nag-YouTube o nagti-TikTok, diba? Children's Lit on TikTok, yun na yung next project ng Ink. Lumalaki yung access ng mga bata. So sana nandun tayo sa lahat. We make it all available. Gusto ko rin yung sinabi ni Chino about inclusivity, hindi lang sa access pero inclusivity sa tema. Kasi baka nagpapamudmud tayo ng libro, hindi naman nila makita yung sarili nila doon sa mga libro. Kaya kailangan, kinakareer din natin yon na yung sinasalamin natin na mga karanasan ay karanasan ng lahat.
Thank you, Miss Annie. Patty, may dagdag ka?
Actually, nasabi na nila lahat halos. Pero I think yung mabibigay ko lang na insight into being inclusive and at the same time trying to catch up with digital nativeness is that maraming ways of dating illustrations. Dating as in yung magbibigay ka ng mga references and thinking that it's going to be there forever. So in the same vein, sa digital sphere, parang hindi mo maaasahan na it's going to be there forever also. Like TikTok's not gonna be there. So ayun, continuing ways to evolve further, pero inclusivity and being aware lang of the many possibilities on and where kids usually are, parang gano'n. Yun lang.
Siguro po maganda ring idagdag yung pagkalampag natin sa policy makers na tulungan tayo, kumbaga meron tayong content, tulungan tayo na makarating ito sa mga tao. Kasi parang, if I may share yung experience sa Room to Read, parang ito na yung material, tapos parang ang hirap pa nung bureaucracy of donating this to community. So parang sana matulungan tayo doon sa aspetong yon na parang makatulong natin yung government, yung government offices na mabigyan yung mga bata ng access sa ganito, no? So policy making, collaboration with various stakeholders, napakahalaga.
Maraming salamat po sa mga sagot sa ating questions. We will move forward with our next question. So there's a question here na, do you have, I think mas illustrators to, no? Do you have any international inspirations, illustrators from other countries? So si Patty na lang yung sasagot. And then if okay lang, natawagin din natin, sagutin yung question na to, tawagin natin yung Pen awardees, si Liza at saka si Robert. Baka pwede lang i-share yung mga international inspirations. Si Patty.
Yes, please. Akala ko, list niyo lang, tapos read out loud ko lang yung sagot niyo. Personally, ako, I had my inspirations were a lot of English and Western artists nga sila Brett Hellquist ng series of Unfortunate Events, saka si Mary Granfer ng Harry Potter series, si Alessandro Barbucci ng Witch. Basta ang dami nila. So you can already see that ang lakas talaga ng influence ng British, American media, tsaka ng Italian for me. So for others, for sure, it's gonna be Japanese illustrators naman. So, ayun lang naman yun sa akin.
Sige. Thank you, Patty. Liza, baka pwede mag-share na.
Hello?
Hi.
Teka, may tanong ako. Ulit. Si Robert muna.
Nagturuan.
Ako, napakaraming paborito kong illustrators, aside from, of course, local. Actually, hindi ko man lang alam yung mga pangalan nila, pero I have this, oh my gosh, hindi nakikita.
It's all red.
Of course, Beatrice Alemagna. I'm sure you know her. Tapos yung iba, hindi ko man lang alam paano pronounce yung name because most of them are like from Czechoslovakia and stuff. Thank you. Salamat.
Ngayon kasi sobrang accessible nung lahat ng art from different countries. So lahat ito pwedeng inspiration for everyone. Pero importante rin na hanapin kung sino yung inspiration ng mga inspiration natin. Para yung works para hindi magkakamukha yung mga trabaho natin. Kasi minsan may tendency na gano'n na kung sino yung sikat, sino yung trending, kung sino yung sinusundan ng friends mo, pare-pareho kayo tinitingnan. So yung result ng work niya minsan nagiging magkakamukha. So importante rin na malawak yung tinitingnan mong for your inspiration, kung saan ka nagdadraw ng inspiration from. Yeah.
Actually, naisip ko na maganda rin pala itanong natin yung writers kung meron silang mga favorite illustrator. Writer and publisher, no? Si Miss Annie, tsaka si Sir Chino, pwede rin mag-share kung meron silang favorite international illustrator.
Favorite, singers, mga ganun.
Pwede rin, or dance. Siguro si Miss Annie, meron po ba kayong ma-share na book illustrator na international na favorite po ninyo?
Ang favorite ko forever ay si Lisbeth Swerger.
Yes.
European illustrator. Pero ang gustong-gusto ko siya kasi ang dami naming space. Siguro nagre-react ako kasi 'di ba meron tayong part ng culture natin na fini-fill up natin lahat ng space.
Bawal ang white.
Oo, siya puro white. Siya puro white lang. Ang powerful na na yung use niya of space. So, favorite ko. Pero marami pa akong favorites.
Sige po. So, Chino, Meron po ba?
Madami din, pero banggitin ko si Katarina Sobral, if you're familiar with her. Nakasama namin siya doon sa AFCC, parang siya yung kami nila Romel, siya yung parang sa illustrator. Pero syempre hindi man ako marunong mag-illustrate. Tapos sinasama kami doon sa mga pagkakataon, hindi ko naman maintindihan. Anyway, maganda yung mga works niya kasi parang china-challenge niya lang din yung what is children's parang ano yung mga styles in illustration at ano yung parang pwedeng, kumbaga ano yung mga conventions at paano ka pwede bumasag dun sa mga conventions.
Ayan, thank you. So for our next question, if some children do not have digital access because of economic reasons, how can you reach them? Print is now more expensive than digital. So meron po ba tayong masasabi sa question na to? Maybe we can have Miss Annie.
I think there are many laudable projects that are in existence right now that are trying to improve access to books. For example, kung alam niyo yung Book Nook project ng NBDB ngayon na nagsiset up sila ng reading corners that are actually also borrowing libraries. And it's really giving unlimited access to the best of children's lit to Filipino kids everywhere. Tapos ang saya-saya niya kasi yung pagka-setup din ng Book Nook depende kung ano yung lugar, 'di ba? Kung nasa Lake Cebu, di talagang yung aesthetic din nila, yun din ang nire-reflect ng Book Nook. Pero yung mga ganong proyekto, sana rin may kasama sila na yung literature din ng place na yon parang mabasa din natin dito, 'di ba? Kasi lagi tayong Imperial Manila pa rin talaga tayo. Tingnan mo yung mga project tayo din nag-iisip ganon. So dapat may way din na tayo din ini-educate nung ibang bahagi ng Pilipinas.
Okay, thank you. May gusto po ba idagdag yung ibang speakers? Wala.
Sorry. Agree ako dun sa library. Sorry.
Yes, go.
Agree ako dun sa library kasi kung tingnan natin din sa States, ang laki ng library system nila, and to think about it din, maraming people na they find out about books, not just from the internet, pero sa library talaga nila, pag sa lunchtime, dati nung face-to-face pa tayo, ang big talaga contribution niya. So, ayun.
Siguro yung dadagdag ko, yun nga, yung parang marami ngayong mga efforts na mag-storytelling through YouTube, for example. Kasi parang ito, dahil nga hindi accessible, it's either, hindi yun nga, parang syempre merong monetary equivalent, o kaya parang mahirap umorder, mga ganyan. So, yung pagkakaroon ng mga productions na nagta-translate ng literary work into video, audio formats na accessible online, maganda rin po. Malaking tulong kasi nagagamit din siya ng mga teachers, for example, na kung depende sa klase ng setup ng paaralan, you can watch this link para mabasa itong kwento na ito, yung mga ganun.
Okay, so maraming salamat, but we have a couple of raised hands pala. So tawagan ko lang muna si Sir Totek. Naka-raise po yung hand ninyo.
Okay. Meron lang ako, hindi to question. Ay, on ba yung audio ko?
Opo, naririnig.
In relation to yung talk ni Patty, medyo na-bother lang ako sa marami niyang questions. Hindi, joke.
Wala, sir.
Hindi, ko lang, yung masasabi ko, I think natural lang na marami tayong questions. I don't think we should be bothered at all if we have a lot of questions along the. In fact, hanggang ngayon dapat nagki-question pa rin tayo. Things like, am I using the same style? What is my purpose for being an illustrator? Is it to win awards? Or should it be very Filipino? Or ganyan-ganyan? Should I be very conscious about this way of doing it? Should I be basta ang daming questions. Naano nga ako doon sa sagot ni Robert sa chat, yung honestly, I don't know what I'm doing yet as of this moment. Something to that effect. Kasi alam mo, pag sigurado na tayo sa ginagawa natin, wala nang kwenta yun. Kailangan mag-explore tayo, magtanong tayo, and these questions are the things that would guide us to make us, move on. And so even yung questions natin, hindi tayo dapat ma-pressure about that. I remember when I was reading the invitation of yung when we were invited 1991, and that time the letter said, we are hoping that you as participant would help in bringing the Filipino illustration in the international scene, so and so and so. So that time, that was a concern. So that was good. Sa tingin ko yung mga questions, whether should we go very Filipino? Am I doing it very Filipino? Should I aim for an award abroad, or should I so and so and so? I think to sum up, ang dapat na, well, hindi, sa akin na, yung ano yung need as of the moment. Need could be personal, need could be in terms of my skill, need could be what is needed by the child, the Filipino child. Need could be anong kailangan ng bansa natin at the moment. And I think that would be helpful in guiding us in addressing and not necessarily answering the questions at that particular moment. Kasi questions, kailangan yan constant tayong dapat magtanong. So, Patty, okay lang yun kung marami kang question. Okay lang yun. We should be, asking questions most of the time. Otherwise, nandun lang tayo parati. Kaya okay lang. Kaya no sinabi ni Robert na, actually, I don't even know what I'm doing at this point in my life. Yung parang, napaka-ano niyan, ang laking insight niyan, kasi dapat constant tayo okay ba to? Is this a need that's legit that I should work on? So as I need, the need can be personal at that time, can be, thinking of the child, thinking of our country, thinking of a lot of things. I always say illustration is not just style, it's the soul. It's the soul. So, okay lang yun. Maraming tanong, Patty. Hindi mo kasi tinanong yan, nagkaklase tayo sa FA.
Kaya po natin dito 30 plus years para masagot ang mga tanong pala. Ngayon ko lang po na-realize, sir.
Mga bagets, kasi ako dolo na ako. Okay lang yun that we question, we ask ourselves, am I doing it the right way? And these questions in being an illustrator can be answered in, just you may find that reason in step by step, or hanggang ngayon nga, tama ba itong pinasukan ko? Joke. Okay, salamat. Pasensya na.
Okay lang po. Maraming salamat, Sir Totet, sa insights. Maganda yung mga shinare ni Sir Totet, lalo na pa-close na tayo ng ating program. Sorry, so we can't entertain any more of the questions. Meron pa sana 3 yata or 5, pero PM is key. Charot. Pero for now, we will close our program. We have reached the end of the program for the day. Pero again, thank you so much to our speakers, Miss Annie Almario, Mr. Chino Marlo Sayuno, and Miss Patty Ramos, for your time and wisdom. Grabe, ang daming natutunan ng ating audience today. Let's keep facing forward for the children's book industry.
So group pick ba tayo?
Maya, meron pa akong closing speech.
Okay, sorry.
Ayan po. So now, with this, for our opening day for Ink Story draws to a close. As with any good story, there is a beginning and there is an end. Years of preparation began with the question, what's your Ink story? And now we leave you with an open-ended answer. It is what you make it. Yeah. Dagdag sa mga tanong, dagdag sa mga sagot na open-ended. How involved, engaged, and committed you are to participating in how this Ink story unfolds is entirely up to you. So we would like to thank everyone who has made it to a point to grace our celebration today with your presence on this very special weekend afternoon. Come visit AteneoArtGallery.com for a virtual tour of the exhibit. For inquiries to visit the exhibit, email aag@ateneo.edu. You can set an appointment from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. And subscribe, syempre, to ang Ink social media channels. Stay tuned for even more events as we celebrate the 30th birthday of ang Ink. So nandito po, naka-flash ngayon ng aming social media links or handles. So please follow ang Ink for another 30 years of greatness. So we wish you all well. take care and stay safe. Ngayon, everyone, please open your cameras para maka-wave goodbye tayo sa ating audiences. Please open your cameras and wave. Naka-on ba? On po. Ayan. Wave lang po tayo. Ayan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you sa mga bisita natin dito sa Zoom.
Yes. Thank you sa visitors.
Maraming salamat. Thank you for everyone who organized all of this.
Thank
Hindi maliit na bagay.
Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Bravo.
Happy birthday, Ink.
Bravo, maraming
Congrats po.
salamat.